Hello and welcome to AFM 451. In this video, we'll go over the expectations gap, its role in auditing, and why it is often misunderstood. The expectations gap refers to the difference between what the public expects from an audit and what an audit is actually designed to achieve. To understand this, we need to break it down into three distinct components. These are the knowledge gap, the performance gap, and the evolution gap. Let's explore what each of these means. The knowledge gap exists when the public believes auditors have capabilities or responsibilities that they do not. For instance, some might think that auditors guarantee a company's financial success, or that auditors will catch every instance of fraud. But in reality, auditors provide reasonable assurance on the reliability of financial statements. This does not mean absolute certainty. Misunderstandings of this fundamental limitation creates the knowledge gap. Next, consider the performance gap. This arises when auditors fail to meet the standards they are supposed to meet. This is not about public misunderstanding, but more of a shortcoming on the auditor's part. Mistakes or negligence in the application of auditing standards lead to this gap. For example, if an auditor fails to detect a material misstatement by not performing the relevant or appropriate audit procedures or by not reviewing sufficient and appropriate evidence, they reasonably should have found, or that is reasonably expected of them, this reflects a performance gap. And finally, the evolution gap addresses how public expectations and audit standards evolve at different speeds. Public expectations often change quickly due to economic or technological shifts. Audit standards and regulations, on the other hand, take a relatively longer time to adapt. This delay creates the evolution gap. Now, imagine a scenario where new financial technologies or disruptors emerge. The public may expect the auditors to understand and audit these instantly, but it will take time for standards to catch up with these innovations. An important point in understanding that closing one gap does not close the others. For example, improving an auditor's understanding of new technologies might close a knowledge gap, but not address performance if the application is flawed. Similarly, faster evolution might lessen the evolution gap, but it won't necessarily fix a gap in the understanding of public. This rapid shift in expectations creates an evolution gap. Auditors may not immediately be prepared, creating a knowledge gap if the public assumes that they have the relevant expertise. Even if standards catch up, performance gap might persist if auditors do not simply implement them effectively. Addressing these gaps require several strategies. Bridging the knowledge gap involves better communication and education about what the auditors do. This means very clearly explaining the scope and limitations of an audit. Tackling the performance gap requires improving auditor training, enhancing oversight, much more stringent and rigorous quality assurance, and of course, ensuring compliance to professional standards. The evolution gap is trickier. It requires a proactive approach from both regulators and auditors to anticipate changes and adapt more swiftly. However, adapting faster is complex because it requires rigorous standard setting process and consensus building. This is not easy, it takes time. Why do disclosure and reporting changes not fully solve these gaps? While more transparency can help, it often targets only the knowledge gap by clarifying audit roles and responsibilities. It does not necessarily improve auditor performance or accelerate the evolution of standards. In truth, bridging the expectations gap requires continuous effort in communication, education, standard setting, and of course the application of professional diligence. Now, understanding these concepts helps us see why even the best auditors cannot meet all public expectations at all times. This insight is essential, as it informs us how we should be approaching improvements in the auditing field or in our profession. To better meet public expectations, we need a multifaceted approach that requires the complexity of addressing all of these different gaps. Thanks for following along. Take care, stay safe, and bye for now.